afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Jeremy, for that great introduction. Obviously, today is what's new in Revit 2021. So there are a lot of new features happening in this new release. Some of them across the platform, some of them specific to a specific industry, and I've been doing this presentation every year for the last couple of years. I'm also doing it at the Revit user group. If you're interested, join us on May 12th. That'll also be online. There's going to be some, fun and jokes, and we're going to dig deep into the new features. So if you'd like that, join me there as well. So a lot of new features, and I'm going to do my best to get through them all within this small window of time. We have a little bit more time in the user group, but anyway, we're going to get in there and start digging away. So in Revit 2021, some of the new features that are just generic to the platform are PDF and image linking. It was always able to link images, but now we can link PDFs as well, and they could be local or they could even be from the cloud. So more and more people are working in the cloud. As you can see over here, here's an example of a link from a BIM 360 site. So basically, utilize and manage images and PDFs more easily with new linking features. You can even convert the links to imports, which is kind of cool if you wanted to embed them. Because unlike other links in Revit, when you link PDFs and images, they're not going to be embedded automatically, which is kind of interesting. So there's that. More and more of our clients are using BIM 360. So in this case, Autodesk has expanded the data centers. Obviously, we're using Amazon data centers, but now our clients across the world are able to use data centers locally to them. And if you're interested in finding more about that, I'm sure Annalise is going to share this link or this presentation. But basically, I've included a couple links that'll bring us out to the web to show us more information about some of these features, like the data centers and where they're located. As you could see, there are tons of new data centers, so you can get it in England and Europe and Germany and all across the world. Anyway, that's fun and interesting. The closer you are, the better your bandwidth and your reliability. So it's going to be improved for all. More and more of our projects are, as I mentioned, in the cloud, so that when we open up Revit, we get the main introduction or the Revit homepage. You're going to see new enhancements as far as your ability to navigate through those projects, whether they be on your account or others' accounts. So as you can see in the image on the left, on the right over here, you have the ability to go to the projects that are in your hub, and then the ability to change the account, go to somebody else's hub to see the projects that you've been invited to. Allegedly, there's also a go to BIM 360 button that would open up the browser. I haven't found that yet, so stay tuned. we'll work on that, and maybe it's just another update that's due to come. So basically, significantly improved 2021 projects. Access to the cloud projects are easier to get to. What's nice is your ability to customize the interface now. So in another slide, in the next slide or two, we'll talk about the infrastructure, new content and classifications. But more and more content has been added to the Revit interface. We may want to minimize what's being displayed. In the past, there was a separate application for Revit structure. So obviously, structure and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, infrastructure, construction, and architecture are all built in now. And if I wanted to, I could minimize the interface and the tabs for those industries I'm not interested at the moment. But you could always open and close different disciplines if you wish. Okay, so the content, I was a little bit surprised about this. There's content available for metric and imperial as always, but Australia and United Kingdom and German content can all be downloaded. Just turned out that none of it was downloaded, so I had to get my content for imperial and metric libraries and templates. But it's right there on the load from library tab, so you can go out and get the content quite easily. Some of it is quite a bit, we're talking 1.2 gigs for the metric library, but they're making it a little bit more accessible. So your initial installation or the deployment can be rather light, and then you could go and your individual users could download the content as they see fit, depending on what region they're working on. So I thought that was interesting. And obviously this is interesting. This was really useful. I don't know why it took so long. I love being able to say that, but we're happy to have the content and the new features. So, when we're in schedules, it was a little difficult to cycle through a schedule without that color striping. So now we can customize the color striping, put any colors you want, depending on your, whether you're colorblind or not, you still need it. You still need to be able to highlight the individual instances, the rows that you're on. In addition to the color striping, which is completely customizable, you can see here you can pick different colors. Just simply clicking a row will highlight that entire row for the entire section, the entire schedule. In addition, you can also modify the schedules and how they look, and might as well just jump in to Revit just to show you one. So I'll jump into a schedule in here, and normal interface, I don't have the color striping, and as I start to scroll, my headers disappear as well. So now up in the context sensitive tab, you have freeze headers. I know, wait, freeze headers, don't save. So freeze headers is activated, and now as I cycle through my initial schedule, it gets a little bit easier to see. A lot of times when I scroll all the way to the right of a big schedule, I kind of forget what column I'm on. So now it's easier to do that. And all you got to do is modify the type underneath the appearance, and you could also modify the striping to add striping or not, and we'll pick a color, something nice. All right, pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory, but it's an easy one to demonstrate. Anyway, the bottom line, new feature gives more control over the appearance of schedules, and we need more control as much as possible. So as I mentioned, more content, more disciplines. So what it means to have an infrastructure discipline, now there's new categories inside visibility graphics, object styles, in your tags, in your schedules. So being able to filter was always there. So I go into visibility graphics, for instance, and I could filter what category of information I'm interested in seeing. So as there are more and more, so as you can see, more content, more disciplines, more abilities to filter through the stuff that you are working on. So bottom line, it's more information, but yet better flexibility to visualize what category you're interested in. Now the real meat and potatoes start coming in. We're still talking on the platform level, so this is something or new features that cross discipline, but Dynamo 2.5 is installed. And what happens when you have Dynamo installed in the new versions of Revit, anytime Revit gets updated, Dynamo gets updated. So there's never a cross compatibility issue. In previous years, not 19 or not 20 in 2021, but previous versions, one had to manually update Dynamo when Revit updated, or vice versa. And sometimes when you updated Dynamo, you needed to update Revit, and there was some problems. So now in the last couple of releases, Dynamo is built in and updates with it. So automatically, updates. So what else is going on with the Dynamo enhancements? They're going to improve the computational design workflows in 2021. Let's talk about some other features of Dynamo. New Revit nodes like, join geometry and unjoin all. So these type of things are things that I constantly see when troubleshooting models. So giving us the ability to use those 10 commonly requested nodes have been added to the interface, so we can create scripts that find geometry a lot easier. And joining geometry sometimes gets problematic because it shows up in the warning dialog boxes when element. So bottom line, these nodes will help users beat more productivity within the automation tasks. There's more available. I'm not done with Dynamo, so we're at the platform level. We're not digging into our architecture or structures yet, but there's more to come. So The filters, there's been all kinds of cool enhancements with the filters within Revit. So view filter is in the visibility graphic dialog box, is view specific, and we can do all kinds of conditional statements that allow us to select and modify visibility or color or patterns based on the criteria. So there's and or and but and conditions to create those selections. But in the past, we used to have to, I don't know why I'm always chuckling, like why did it take so long? In the past, we had to deal with these filters, maybe something as simple as concrete beams, concrete walls, or walls of particular fire ratings. If I wanted to visualize a filter within a view, I would have to add that filter to the view, and it would be visible and be affecting that view. Now I can add all my filters and decide which ones I want to enable and which ones I don't want to enable. So it's a lot easier to manage a project, because no one has to go in there and manually add the process of the conditional statements that apply or drive that filter. I can add all of the filters, and then I can decide whether I use them or not. I think I explained them well enough. If you have any questions, we'll do questions and answers after the presentation. So tags. Again, why did it take so long? I don't know, but it's very cool to be able to say, hey, I want that tag to be rotated with the content. So here's some pretty self-explanatory tags that are rotating automatically. It is kind of weird that I can't just say toggle don't be aligned with the element or rotate with the element or not. I have to go in and use the family editor. So I have to edit the type to enable that ability. So you'd have to have various types, one that's enabled and one that's not enabled. And then I could switch types depending on how I want it to display. Either way, I think it's pretty cool. I also have to stop saying it's pretty cool because that's all cool, and we know that. So voids. Within families, we used to have to control voids and make additional types so that we could get the interactions that we wanted. But now we can associate its cutting ability in the properties, instance properties of the element. Type and instance properties. But it basically provides better control over void functionality within the Revit families. So there's a lot of content. Hopefully I'm keeping a good pace. Let me know if there's anything, everybody can hear me, and anything other, Dylan will go to the questions afterwards. So again, we're still at the platform level, so there's a lot of good stuff going on. Line styles, as you can see over here on the right, now they're hard-coded, so it'll be a lot easier or a lot easier to manage and consistently appear based on the template. So these are built in and uneditable. So you can always duplicate them, so you can make all the ones you want. But I guess it's a nice little feature. And guess what? If you're doing your projects in the North Pole or the South Pole, now you'll have better shadow and sun accuracy. Because I know that was happening all the time. I know how many projects I've done at the North Pole. Hey, this is a big one that I had to add. The internal origin is off by default. John from Soup Design is probably screaming, "Yay, finally!" I mean, it's nice to have this internal origin, just to confuse the whole issue of where the origins are. There are 3 of them, as far as you know. Now the internal origin is something that I can turn on, but luckily it's off by default, which is a lot easier to manage. John, you're very welcome. So let's get into architecture now. The big item, new feature in Revit 2021 is the generative design features, basically built in directly into the interface. Just simply, find it in the Manage tab, and we could create studies, manipulate those studies, and enhance our ability. Basically, I mean, what is it doing, right? It's bringing a logarithmic scale, speed, and precision to design studies, right? So we're going to use the generative components features to enhance, right? Basically, generative. We implement generative design by specifying the high-level goals and constraints of a project, and then use the power of computation to automatically generate, evaluate, and evolve hundreds of thousands, or even hundreds and thousands of design options to explore a very wide design space of possibilities. So basically what we're doing, and I had a couple of videos, but I could share them with you elsewhere. They're not running in conjunction with my microphone. But either way, generative design is pretty cool. I'm going to jump out to Revit to show you some features. But what I wanted to make sure that everybody understood is the generative design components and the samples that are available within Revit, right within Revit, are just a sample, just a touch of what's available. So we can help you learn more about using Dynamo to drive these generative component options within Revit. But basically, Dynamo is giving you the unlimited access to all of the features. Not only can you modify the features that you have that came with Revit 2021, but you can also create your other ones. So for example, mass, placement of views on sheets, solar analysis. So I wanted to click on this link and share this link with everybody. Basically, Autodesk has always had this generativedesign.org site. They call it a primer, basically giving you access to all these cool tools. So everything about generative design and in a deep dive. There's sample content that you can download for free. But what I wanted to just make sure everybody understood is there's some really basic tools. It's not all fluff and conceptual analysis. Something as simple as doing some solar analysis or office layout or object placement and even entourage, things like that. It's really kind of neat that we can we can drive these things without having to reinvent the wheel and learn coding from scratch. So I'm going to jump also back into Revit, and I'll show you some examples of what we've done. Of course, you should always save your project. So I have a desk, sample desk, and I deleted a door to just make a simplified example of how do I place these desks in this space and consider a lot of the interesting possibilities. So you have to go to Manage, and these tools are here. It is Generative Design tools are here. Fires up this platform. And basically, when you create a new one, you come in and you get this tool and you say, well, which one do you want from the samples? And as you develop your skills in scripting, you can create your own. But it's a good place to start. So workspace and layout. I come in, I select a room, I select a piece of furniture, right? And then I configure this study to give me information about this layout. So what I've done is I've already created a couple. So I'm going to go over here and we're going to look at my explore some outcomes that I've already produced. So you can create your studies, and then you have a sample example of studies that you've created. So my goal, again, was to take a desk, place it in that space, and I simplified it by giving one exit, and basically configure it in such a way so that I have the desk row rotation, the spacing between rows, the average distance to exits. I didn't consider views to the outside because, hey, come on, it's pretty obvious. And the number of desks. So these are all of the options that we created. There's 2 pages worth of options of how the desks could be laid out. And what I do is I come into this tool to kind of minimize or filter options that really show my my preference. So I wanted a less spacing between the rows. I wanted less distance to the exits. And as I start filtering these, they give me more or less results. So I like that one, right? Is the average distance to the exit is low. There's 14 desks. You know what? Maybe I wanted more desks. So I come in here and I say, well, I need more desks. So I can come and modify this result. And this guy gives me 16 desks. Oh, 17 desks, but the distance to the exit is a little higher. So I come by and I modify that. All right, so that's the one to go with. It's pretty, it's fun to play with. Maybe that one's the better one. And basically, when I'm done with it, I can keep this study and decide, okay, well, let's generate those elements. So it's going to place the desks according to the, the filters and the tools that I use. And let's say they're done, creating elements created. So I jump over here, and there are my desks. It's cute, it's fun, right? But there are all kinds of opportunities, and there are all kinds of different studies that you can play with. And the bottom line is you're getting introduced to these new features and these new studies so that you can explore a lot of outcomes and you could evaluate your goals and share information. The one that you're seeing in this example has also included the idea that there are some good views that somebody wants. So you could see there are some negative views, and then there are some green good views to the outside. There are a lot of pretty cool options that you can play with, some of the massing studies as well. Anyway, I think it's a great new feature, and it's fun to play with. You could get this generative design feature when you subscribe to the AZ collection, so the Architecture, Engineering, Construction Industry collection. But I believe you can also get it separately without the collection, but in addition. So anyway, get started with generative design and automation in Revit, and then move to Dynamo. These are samples that are going to get you really excited to explore Dynamo. We can help you with that. So if you have any questions, please give us a call or email support@microsolresources.com. What else is really cool? The realistic views. So our ability to generate realistic views without having to throw rendering horsepower at it. 10 times faster and smoother navigation. So the lighting and the materials that you've already have in your scene are just a lot easier to generate. And I have to show you. So I'll jump back into Revit, and in this case, I'm going to use that cute little sample project. So here's the sample Revit basic sample project, right? Yeah, I could throw on shadows. I could show the sun path. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm now going to jump into realistic graphic display mode. This is live, everybody. And of course, as I say, this is live. It's taken a lot longer than it did previously. Maybe it's because of the shadows that I enabled. But you know what? I'm at a good time, 30 minutes in. So I think that's a good result. So here you go. Here's the real-time rendering generation right from Revit without having to go out and purchase additional tools. I mean, Enscape is fantastic, but it's an addition. So hopefully this might get you faster or bring you closer to the immersive presentations that you want to give your clients. So when I jump into the kitchen and I make sure that the realistic view, oh, that's a rendering. All right, let me just jump to the kitchen 3D view. And I am in realistic. So that's pretty cool. That's a really nice view. And what's nice is it's generating automatically. So even though I'm navigating around, hopefully I'll give it a second for the view. Whoa, that's pretty good. It's really nice. Some nice reflections in the light, some shadows coming in. Anyway, real nice improvements and smoother navigation, as you could see. Slanted walls, slanted elliptical walls, if you wanted them. So that's really it's a fun little tool. Maybe not as realistic as someone might hope who's going to build a wall at that angle, but there are a lot of really interesting reasons why we might want to use this tool. Maybe not for full facades, slanted facades, but something as simple as inside the project, maybe some interior walls or some soffit walls. Or it's really cool, really flexible. I'll jump into Revit and show you that as well. So I'll go out to 3D, and you know what? I'm going to do it in the realistic rendered view. Why? Because I'm crazy. Did I practice this? No. But I'm going to do it anyway. Crazy. Two walls. They're now looking at the instance properties. They're vertical. I'm going to give them slanted, and I'm going to give them a value of like 15 degrees. How cool is that? Come on. So pretty cool slanted walls with a nice realistic lighting and shadow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in some doors. I'm going to don't use the pocket door, by the way, but I'm going to use regular door. Oh no, but it's actually expected. But guess what? There's a property on the door as well. So now I have a slanted door. I know, it's a little silly, but maybe it's better for Windows, so I'll throw in a window as well. So here's a window, throw that in as well. Grab the window and make sure it's slanted as well. So it's more common that a window might be slanted than a door, but either way, whatever you choose, you have that ability to do that. And Linda over there in the balcony is quite impressed. She's taking a photo of the slanted walls. Great new features, fun to play with. They keep going, and we keep enjoying them. So let's go with the rest of the presentation. Ooh. So slanted walls, that's pretty self-explanatory. Revit to Inventor. So now we can link data directly to Inventor to expand upon, whether in this case, a shade device or some complex structure that we want to manufacture. We link it to Inventor, get a breakdown of the individual parts and material lists and whatnot. So Inventor is pretty powerful, and now we can bring that information back and forth. Inventor components and dependency open up update, so we can come back in from Inventor into Revit as well. So, to improve the fabrication workflows if you're getting in there. So I'm going to start to speed up a little bit because I have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to skim through some of the other features, but anybody has any questions about them related to structure or mechanical, electrical, plumbing, let me know. We can talk later if you wanted more information. But basically, when it comes down to it, the structural features that have been added allow you to make additional shapes, extract bending instructions, and provide full fabrication data for rebar. So it just keeps getting better and better. And in case you didn't know, you don't have to have all the rebar shown in all views at all times. We know that as we add more rebar into a project, it's going to just get heavier and heavier. So, a couple of years ago, they enabled the ability to just control the visibility of this rebar and the shape. So only a couple of views need to visualize it. So we don't weigh down the entire project. So there's new arcs, shape rebar, and circular structures. It's doing a lot of what they normally would be doing. So I got a kick out of the end treatment, giving us the ability to have better engineers and detailers with more control over the way they want to detail the information that the engineers are modeling within it. So all kinds of fabric sheets and all kinds of ability to see this information in all views. But really, you want to control where you want to see that stuff. So in this dialog box, we have the ability to just control it. But bottom line, improves user efficiency and productivity in modeling accurate reinforcement. So, customize information. And, well, I also got a kick out of the precast tools. So the precast tools that are available are giving us powerful capabilities, fully integrated into Revit, to do all of the precast structures. So more and more of our clients are doing, modular construction. So this is only going to improve. So architecture has Dynamo tools, structure has enhanced Dynamo tools, so more abilities to control and populate your project based on a Dynamo script. So more scripts are available, as well as the nodes that allow you to do more. So more is better. Analysis results in the interface. So, as we start applying loads within our project, we send it out to robot structural analysis for the finite analysis. Now it can bring those results in, and within the results manager, which you see right here, I can visualize the deflection that might happen based on snow loads or whatever it may be. So it's kind of cool to explore and visualize. Structural engineers don't necessarily like to visualize as much as the architects, but everybody wants to see it. What else? Total custom cuts and contours. So as you get more and more details onto the steel and the connections, you have the ability to control more flexibility when detailing. Okay. So I'm speeding up even more. So I love the ability to populate connections with by just selecting columns grids. So now, more enhancements with stiffeners and the flexibility of coming in and controlling how this is going to be copied along all the different intersections of beams and columns. This I didn't even know there was a problem. I thought you were able to define a work plane and model anything anywhere, but they've enhanced the ability to do vertical views and update the steel components, so your beams and plates can have custom cuts that are perpendicular to the column line. Again, more abilities to detail properly. Basically, a lot of structural fabricator or the detailers would have to fake it or put reference lines in order to indicate the way they wanted to document, but it's a lot easier to document more properly. Basically, in the circuit naming, again, giving the flexibility to the engineers to name and control and schedule the information the way they want it to, right? More flexibility in naming schemes. More and more. So the ability to properly support the single phase or the one hot conductor panel boards. So it makes sense to them. I don't really know what it means. Switchboard, no, I do. I just, got to be a dad joke. Your quantity as well. So now, whether you're doing a switchboard in your circuit, you can get better ways of quantifying the information in the schedule. It was a little bit more difficult, but it was definitely doable, and now it's just making it easier. Again, specifying the desired phase for circuits on switchboards. Anything that you want, it's a little bit more customized, a little bit more easy to read, searchable, makes more sense to the engineers, so that it's all listed properly the way they want to. I know we've talked about this in other versions, the ability to see who's editing what. So I popped out the work sharing display settings just to make sure everybody knew what we were talking about. With a project that has work sharing enabled, we can control the visibility of the owners and who's got work sets active. So in MEP, it didn't make a lot of sense because all I did was edit one element and it looked like the entire system was being edited by me. So essentially, the bottom line, allowing MEP professionals to collaborate more efficiently using Revit work sharing. P&ID, piping and instrumentation diagram. So it's a tool that's always been, quite powerful and quite, used in the industry. Now it's giving us the ability to add that information into Revit and to share it within BIM 360 docs. More information about, proper labeling, the ways that engineers want to see the flow units. So a lot of good enhancements for the engineers, both structural and mechanical, in this release. And on the last note, our engineers are going to have the ability to visualize the analysis as the engineers are doing, or as the architects are doing with, Insight and all of the powerful analysis tools. Now the engineers have the ability to do that as well, to visualize the systems and give much more results back to the entire team.